I got the email on a Tuesday in the middle of the desert. Sand clung to my boots, gritty and relentless, the kind that worked its way into every seam. The sun had burned my neck raw, a constant sting under my collar. My rifle hung on my shoulder, heavy as a second spine. Then, in 3 sentences, my world collapsed. No explosion could have hit harder. My name is James, 38, a staff sergeant on my 3rd tour. The subject line was blank. The message was surgical. I want a divorce. I filed the papers. Don't bother coming home. No, we need to talk. No, I'm unhappy. Just a dismissal from Jess, the woman who'd once kissed me at dawn before every deployment, her hands soft on my face like I was her anchor. That night, I logged into our joint account from a base computer, the screen flickering under dim lights. 0 balance, not a penny left. She'd taken it all, $87,421 scraped together over 5 years, for a house we'd dreamed of. Emergency funds I'd wired after a rocket attack shook the base, even my re-enlistment bonuses. Gone. I was 7,000 miles away, tethered to a shaky satellite connection, watching my life dissolve. Betrayal doesn't just wound. It tears you apart, layer by layer. But under the shock, I found something else. I wasn't the husband she'd cast aside. I was a soldier, trained to notice details, track threats, and fight back. Jess had handed me a reason to start. Deployment rewires you. You learn to function on 2 hours of sleep, fueled by MRE coffee that tastes like regret. You master the art of staying sharp while sweat soaks your gear, of distinguishing incoming artillery from outgoing by the pitch of the whistle. I'd seen 3 tours, 2 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. Thought I'd faced every kind of hell. Sand jamming my rifle no matter how much I cleaned it. Blood pooling black under night vision goggles. The smell of a burning Humvee, sharp with diesel and something you don't name. But none of it, not the 130-degree heat, not the sniper round that punched through my canteen last year, hit like that email. War has a code, fragile as it is. Medics don't shoot the wounded. There's a line, even in chaos. Love, though, it turns trust into a blade. Jess, who'd traced the scar on my shoulder after my nightmares, now used my absence to strike. I met Jess 10 years ago at a bar in Fayetteville, near Fort Bragg. She was a paralegal, sharp and funny, with a laugh that cut through the noise. We married a year later, promising to weather deployments together. Early on, she'd send care packages, beef jerky, handwritten notes, photos of her and Buddy, our rescue mutt. But over time, the packages slowed. Her letters grew shorter, her calls distracted. I told myself it was the distance, the stress of my job. I was wrong. I tried calling from the base's MWR lab, 3 a.m., dust coating my hands. The phone rang 30 seconds, then 40. By the 12th try, I counted the tones like a mission clock, 1 second, 2, until her voicemail clicked on. You've reached Jess. Leave a message. Her voice was bright, recorded months ago when things still felt solid. I called again after patrol, my fingers shaking from more than exhaustion. I even dialed her parents' landline. Her father answered, voice flat. She's fine, James. She needs time. Click. Emails bounced back, marked undelivered. Her Facebook was dormant since the divorce filing. Instagram showed a new post, brunch with 3 friends, mimosas raised, no sign of the life we'd shared. The empty space on the left side of the photo felt like where I should have been. I leaned on my platoon, asked Ramirez's wife, Sarah, to drive by our house in North Carolina. There's a Porsche in the driveway, she texted. California plates. Doesn't look like Jess's car. Ramirez went further. He sent photos from our street. My closet emptied. The seashell I'd brought Jess from Okinawa missing from her dresser. A wine glass sat on the nightstand, lipstick smudged on the rim. Sorry, man, he wrote. Thought you should know. The VA therapist I'd see later called it facing the truth. I called it recon. Every photo, every unanswered call, was a piece of the puzzle. Jess wasn't just leaving, she was erasing me. I started replaying our marriage. Not just the fights, but the quiet moments that had shifted. Flashback to last August, pre-deployment. I came home early from drills, found Jess in the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear. He'll never notice, she said, laughing. She saw me in the doorway, and her smile didn't fade. It tightened, like she'd switched gears. Who was that? I asked. Mom, she said, too fast, turning to the sink. Or Christmas, when she insisted on hosting her firm's holiday party. Mark, the CFO, just call me Mark, kept refilling her wine, his hand sliding from her shoulder to her waist. She didn't pull away, just laughed louder. I'd stood in the corner, sipping bourbon, telling myself it was nothing. The lies piled up. Girls' weekend in Napa. Her airline app showed Palm Springs. My phone died. Find my iPhone pinged at a downtown hotel. Not ready for kids yet. Her Pinterest was full of baby names. In combat, your mind fixates on small things to dodge the big ones. So I obsessed over questions that didn't matter. Did she pack my favorite mug first? Did she keep our wedding album? Did Buddy, our dog, wag his tail when she took him? Those questions haunted me at night, lying on my cot, the desert wind rattling the tent. I'd think of Buddy, his goofy grin, the way he'd curl up by my boots after a long day. Jess had always loved him, or so I thought. Now, I wondered if she'd even kept his food bowl filled. When my tour ended, I flew back to North Carolina. The key didn't fit the lock. A property manager's notice, buried in my mail, said the cores had been changed. I buzzed in like a delivery guy, feeling like a stranger in my own home. The house was different. Walls painted a soft gray, my bourbon shelf replaced with green juice bottles. Our bed, the one I'd carried upstairs when we moved in, had silk sheets in a shade that looked like faded blood. The air smelled of lavender candles, not the coffee we used to brew together. I met my lawyer, Tom, in an office that smelled of fresh coffee and old books. His suit was sharp, but his handshake was firm, grounding. Jess is claiming constructive abandonment, he said, sliding papers across his desk. Says your deployments made the marriage unlivable. The affidavit stung. Paragraph 12. I prioritized the military over her. Paragraph 17. I failed to attend her cousin's wedding. I was in Fallujah. Exhibit C. A book she'd highlighted, When His Career Comes First. The financials were a second blow, joint savings. $87,000 for $121 drained in small transfers over months. TSP account, my half hit with withdrawal penalties. Deployment bonuses, deposited, then moved within days. There's more, Tom said, his voice steady. She's claiming Buddy as an emotional support animal. Filed vet bills for dog yoga classes. I laughed, bitter. She forgot to feed him for 2 days last deployment. Ramirez had to step in. That's when it sank in. This wasn't a divorce, it was a campaign. Jess had used my absence to rewrite our story, casting me as the absent husband while she dismantled our life. The Porsche in the driveway? Leased days after I deployed. Hotel charges? Started my first week overseas. Tom leaned forward. We can negotiate, maybe split custody of Buddy. No, I said, standing. I want bank records, phone logs, every transaction since I left. She doesn't get to walk away clean. Betrayal's like a failed mission, you don't panic. You reassess, plan, and strike back. I started digging, treating it like a patrol, slow, deliberate, no stone unturned. Jess wasn't as clever as she thought. Everything leaves a trace. I logged into our phone bill online. 4,237 texts to one number in 6 months, all sent late at night when I was on patrol. The area code matched her firm's office in Raleigh, where Mark worked. Bank statements told a story. $87 daily charges at a day spa next to a budget motel. $422.17 at Tiffany and Company on Valentine's Day, while I ate MREs in a sandstorm. $1,200 wired to Mark D. Consulting LLC, registered to an address in Raleigh. The real proof came from our home security app, which Jess hadn't disabled. Motion alerts showed the front door opening every Tuesday and Thursday, mid-morning, when she was supposedly at work. The timestamps lined up with Mark's remote work schedule on LinkedIn. I called Ramirez from the base, my voice low. You still got that buddy who does PI work? Yeah, he said. Ex-cop, discreet. You sure about this? I need answers, I said. Not guesses. He gave me a number. I hired the PI, Mike, for $3,000, wired from my personal account. 3 days later, he emailed a report. Receipts of Jess and Mark using my card at a Raleigh hotel. Lyft records showing 17 trips from Mark's office to our house. Texts recovered from Jess' cloud backup. He gone another 6 months, plenty of time. The kicker? A notarized statement from their apartment doorman, saying Mark's wife, Lauren, thought he was at client dinners every Thursday. Jess had been draining our account for months, but she got careless. Transfers started small, $500, $1,000. Time for Fridays when banks move slowly. She'd used our Amazon account to order office supplies shipped to a UPS box. The purchase history was almost comical. $89.99 for silk sheets, unopened when I got home. $129.95 for a hidden audio recorder, found later in the headboard. $12.99 for how to disappear completely, delivered days before I deployed. Her biggest slip? A PayPal receipt for a couple's massage at a spa, paid from our account, emailed to Mark Davidson. It was like she'd left a map to her lies. I sat with the evidence in my motel room, a cheap place near Fort Bragg where I'd checked in to stay off Jess's radar. The room smelled of stale coffee and bleach, but it was quiet, a place to think. I spread the documents on the bed, piecing together her plan. She hadn't just cheated. She'd built a new life, funded by our savings, while I was dodging bullets. I thought about our early days. Our first date, when Jess spilled wine on her dress and laughed it off, saying, "Guess I'm a mess." The night I proposed, on a pier at Wrightsville Beach, her saying yes before I finished the question. Those memories clashed with the evidence in front of me, and I wondered when she'd stopped being that woman, or if she'd ever been her. Mark Davidson was 42, a Stanford MBA, married to Lauren, a pediatric surgeon. They had 2 kids in private school. His Instagram was a parade of ski trips and #grateful posts. Lauren's Facebook celebrated her 10-year cancer-free milestone the same month Jess started a book club that met weekly. I decided to confront Mark, not out of anger but strategy. If he was the linchpin, I'd start there. I wore my dress blues, the ones Jess once said made me look like a movie hero. Parked outside his Raleigh brownstone at 5:47 a.m. when his fitness app said he'd leave for the gym. He froze when he saw me leaning against his Tesla, a $180,000 toy. "Your Mark?" I said, handing him an envelope. Read page 3. Inside, screenshots of their Venmo payments, littered with heart and wine emojis. A spare key to our house, one I'd found in a drawer. Photos of a hotel bed with rose petals spelling forever. His face went pale when he saw the last page. His daughter's Sweet 16 contract, Lauren's number circled. "Your wife's next," I said, keeping my voice even. "Unless you fix this." He stammered. I don't know what you want." "You know," I said. "Make it right, or she sees everything." Mark understood leverage. He nodded, hands shaking, and I walked away, the morning air cool against my skin. 2 days later, Jess called. Her caller ID showed our Hawaii selfie from 5 years ago, her laughing as I wore a ridiculous lei. The ringtone was our wedding song, a cruel reminder. "Baby," her voice cracked raw. "Mark told me you saw him. Please, let's talk." I let her talk, her words tumbling out. She offered to return the money. Mark had frozen their accounts. Leave the house. Lauren had changed the locks. Even give up Buddy. He misses you. When she called it a stupid mistake, I spoke. "You're right. It was." I ended the call, calm as safing a weapon. I sat in the motel afterward, staring at the ceiling. Part of me wanted to hear her out, to understand why she'd done this. But the soldier in me knew better. Explanations don't undo damage. I had a mission now, reclaim what was mine. I met Tom at his office, handing him the PI's report. "This changes everything," he said, flipping through the pages. "We can prove fraud and dissipation of assets." We filed fraud claims for the stolen bonuses, a motion to dismiss her abandonment argument, citing my deployment orders, a suit for emotional distress, backed by the security app data and recorder. Tom explained the process. We'd request a financial audit, subpoena phone and bank records, and build a case that Jess had acted in bad faith. "It's not quick," he warned, "but it's winnable." The audit took weeks. I stayed in the motel, working with Tom to comb through records. Jess's transfers were sloppy, small sums to cover spa visits, larger ones to Mark's LLC. The security app showed her and Mark at the house during work hours, undermining her claim of abandonment. The audio recorder, found in the headboard, had her prints, suggesting she'd planned to spy, or worse. I saw my VA therapist, Dr. Ellis, twice a week. She was a former Army medic, no nonsense but kind. "You're processing a different kind of combat," she said. "Betrayal hits like an ambush. You're doing the work to move through it." I didn't feel like I was moving. I felt stuck, replaying Jess's lies, wondering if I'd missed signs earlier. Dr. Ellis pushed me to focus on what I could control. "You're not just fighting for assets," she said. "You're fighting for yourself." The hearing was in a plain courtroom, wood tables under fluorescent lights. Jess's lawyer, a young guy in an overpriced suit, kept tugging at his tie, nervous. Jess sat across the room, her face pale, avoiding my eyes. Tom presented our case, the bank records, the security app logs, the PI's evidence. He called Sarah, Ramirez's wife, to testify about the Porsche and the state of the house. The vet testified about Buddy's missed meds, contradicting Jess's emotional support claim. Jess's lawyer argued she'd acted out of desperation, that my absences left her no choice. It was a weak defense, crumbling under the evidence. The judge, a woman with sharp eyes, took notes, her expression unreadable. When I took the stand, I kept it simple. "I served my country," I said. "I trusted my wife to hold our home together. She didn't just leave, she stole everything we built." The judge ruled, all marital assets to me, due to proven fraud. The house, free and clear, as the recorder's prints voided Jess's claims. Full custody of Buddy, based on vet records. She added a restraining order. Jess had to stay 500 yards from my home, work, and Buddy's favorite dog park. I watched her mascara run as the bailiff handed her the papers, the cheap kind that smudged. When the decree came through, I moved back into the house. I did 3 things. Burned the silk sheets in the backyard, the flames quick and bright. Installed heavy-duty locks, ones she'd never touch. Opened a 25-year Macallan Jess had saved for a special day. It tasted like freedom. Buddy, heavier from her neglect, slept by my bed that night. At 3 a.m., when he whimpered, I lay on the floor, letting him nuzzle me until we fell asleep, sunlight spilling through the blinds. Jess's life unraveled. Mark quit his job after Lauren got an anonymous email with the PI's report. He's in his parents' guest house in Florida now, per Ramirez's gossip. Jess works at a tanning salon on the Jersey Shore, offering military discounts. Sometimes, driving by with Buddy, I hear her shout over my radio playing Sweet Home Alabama. I just keep driving. Revenge wasn't about ruining Jess, it was about reclaiming me. I used the settlement to install a security system with motion sensors. Buy Buddy a comfy bed Jess had called extravagant. Enroll in an MBA at Columbia, using my GI Bill. Some nights, I'd stare where our wedding photo hung. Now, there's a frame with my Bronze Star. The judge's ruling. A hotel receipt from Jess's affair. Dr. Ellis calls it closure. I call it evidence. 2 years later, I'm a major with a raise Jess'll never see. I'm dating Claire, a trauma surgeon who laughs at Buddy's bad breath. The house is redone, new floors, new paint, no trace of her. I started volunteering with a veterans group, helping guys navigate divorces and financial scams. It's not much, but it feels right, like paying forward the clarity I fought for. Last I heard, Jess married Mark. It lasted 6 months. Ramirez says Mark lost his car in Lauren's prenup-protected divorce, and Jess is still at that salon. Their split finalized the week my startup got funding. Sometimes, I drive by with Buddy, windows down, the ocean air sharp. War's brutal, but peace? It's mine now.